Channel 4 undercover documentary discovered racism and homophobia within the Reform Party. They documented an activist who said some pretty disgusting racist and anti-migrant things. And also an aide to Farage was filmed being homophobic. We have a clip of that now.
The immigration thing, use the word illegal, emphasise illegal, especially if you open the door to a bunch of sick, mate, sick mother. It's a cult. I tell you what, if you don't know about Islam, it is the most disgusting cult out. With kicking all the Muslims out of the mosques and then turn them into Witherspoons. Yeah. I've always been a Tory voter. What annoys me is he got in. What's good is he? You tell me, he's just wet. What's in that? Useless. You've got DO11 here, all the place near Dover, army recruitment. Get the young recruits there, with guns on the beach, target practice. Just shoot them. That's what the Greeks done. You know about that. The Greeks shot us. Look at the Australians. None of it. I'm just think the ring fence Bradford Star round and just do that. You've got these bastards running our country. You must be joking, mate. And do us a favour. You're a paramedic and not getting your ambulance. Just don't put oxygen on the bastard. Use something else. You know where I'm coming from.
Well, mate, look around. Proper England.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Proper England. It's not like in London when you're a foreigner in your own country, and if you say hello to someone, they look like they're about to go knife you in the face. You know what I mean? This is the shit I'm talking about. That is outrageous.
The car has a pride flag on its bonnet.
You see that degenerate flag on the front bonnet? What the old Bill doing promoting that crap? Is be out catching nonsense, not promoting it. Well, I suggest all our police officers go down to the local gay pride march and dance around like fairies for a few days at the taxpayers' expense.
Now, if you're saying anything against anyone, you're a racist or you're this, yeah? Then I'm a racist. I've had enough of it. Go across France and shoot the lot.
Really good documentary from Channel 4. You've just seen it. Really disgusting and deplorable stuff. And the guy, he's in the pub. He's like, "Do you know what? This is a proper pub, proper English. Sorry, but unless you serve a decent pint of Guinness, it's not a proper pub. These guys don't know what they're talking about." Now, we have a clip from Rishi Sunak responding to the racist comment.
When my two daughters have to see and hear Reform people who campaign for Nigel Farage calling me an effing packy, it hurts and it makes me angry, and I think he has some questions to answer. And I don't repeat those words lightly. I do so deliberately because this is too important not to call out clearly for what it is.
Helena, so what do you make of this story? Look, I know leaders don't have full control over everyone in the party, and we just spoke about Adrian Rams in the Green Party. He's not responsible for every Green member. Jeremy Corbyn wasn't responsible for every Labour member. However, given that Reform's political ideology is about division, it's about anti-immigration, Farage himself has been racist in the past, then we can't separate what these two individuals, and maybe more, have said from the party itself, right?
I mean, it's a difference, because remember, that guy, there's all these stories coming, I'm sure we'll get to it, about this, I forget what the name of the guy was, saying these are the things about Rishi Sunak, right? That's one guy who said a bunch of stuff. And again, you can't control individuals in your party. You've got to say what it says about your party if you attract them, especially given how much of their policy is around this particular area. But those other guys that we saw, those weren't just random people who signed up to canvass. Those are people who are more central to the party, literally comparing gay people to paedophiles in that statement. I mean, it sounds like that was the implication to me by saying, well, cops are dancing at pride marches, we should be arresting nonces, not promoting them. That sounds like an implication that by having people, having police officers from the queer community, that sounds pretty much like the kind of thing that's being said there. And these are people who are far more central to Reform UK's campaigning than just one guy who signed up to canvass or to be a candidate. So when you understand like the central project thing, you look at their policies. For example, their policies is just sending the boats back. Ben Habib, who was speaking to Julia Hartley-Brewer on Talk TV a few months back, basically admitted he's happy for migrants to drown in the Channel. And on top of that, their own manifesto, their contract with the people, is explicitly kind of queerphobic in the kind of way that it wants to essentially Section 35 So Section 38, the teaching about queer people from schools, and talking about, banning, essentially changing the law to essentially ban people from transitioning too. So this is a party that really doesn't like the queer community, or indeed the migrant communities either, in terms of the kind of policies they talk about. And it's not just random candidates that say things like this too. It's people at the top of the party who say these things as well.
Now, with Rishi Sunak, obviously, look, what did you think of the response? For me, watching that clip, I can see he was actually personally affected. Now, dare I say, he showed some sort of humanity. And look, I've been called those words plenty of times in my life. So for once, I actually relate to what a billionaire is saying. But at the same time, Rishi Sunak happily took money from Frank Hester, didn't give the money back after his disgusting racist comments about Diane Abbott. And I would say the media, the BBC, are broadly biased towards the right. They pretty much made UKIP in Farage's career. However, at the same time, I don't think they have an issue sticking it to the likes of Reform when issues of racism come up, as they should. But what they won't do is talk about racism when it's targeted towards the left, or if it's come from the Labour right. Would you agree with that analysis?
I mean, just look at the Kemi Badenoch comments about David Tennant saying, "Oh, I think he's racist because he said nasty things about me." Not even in kind of any contextually racist. Just, I'm a black woman, he said nasty things about me. So they'll play the id poll card then. Yeah, Kemi Badenoch was also defending taking the money from Frank Hester after the clearly racist comments that he made about Diane Abbott, and said that the comments were trivial. If you can imagine such a thing as saying you hate all black women, or literally makes you want to hate all black women, that she should be shot, right? So it's clear that Tories will only play the identity politics game if they think that it's useful for them, and they don't even know how to do it properly either. It's clear a load of these times that they take a selective approach to caring about things like racism. And whilst I absolutely agree, I fundamentally will always side with Sunak when he is kind of pretty often subjected to kind of racist abuse, and people discussing him like that he is not British just because he's of Indian heritage. I would find that repugnant, but I find that repugnant when anybody does it, not just when people do it to right-wingers.
Would you make a response from Reform then? I mean, there's been no apology or anything. In fact, I mean, Farage, on Question Time, and subsequently Tice on Twitter, have been using excuses, saying that, well, the racist guy was a paid actor. And Farage even said, oh, it was a stitch-up. He even suggested that an agency may have potentially planted the guy, agency to Channel 4. I mean, they won't take any responsibility. And guess what? This ain't going to harm them in any way, is it?
I think it will harm them.
You think?
Slightly, okay. But not broadly, but slightly. But I think they should have been far more apologetic in their responses. But what's interesting is that they're very keen to focus on this guy they claim to be a paid actor. It could be, it could not be. What I don't think he is. But we also have the other comments caught on film from people much more senior in the party than he is. Right? It's not just him. It wasn't even mentioned for the pieces I've seen of the Nigel Farage Question Time.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
They brushed it away as being a paid actor. They didn't mention the other guys that we also saw on camera, the younger people who are far more senior in the kind of party apparatus. It just gets ignored. It's completely ignored on top of that. So I think it's a really poor response from Farage and Tice. I think it will hurt them. So Luke Trill from More in Common does a lot of polling, a lot of focus groups. And whilst there is certainly a section of the public who doesn't mind these things being said, you've seen the responses from the people on the ground to these statements, that there's clearly a market for this. But this market isn't the entirety of Reform UK's vote share, or at least their polling share at the moment. Luke Trill made this. He made an estimation that there's like 10% of their 12 to 20% of the vote share that they've got at the moment. 10% of this is like dyed-in-the-wool people who think this rhetoric is fine. But there is a broad amount of people who just want to support them because they like Nigel Farage's tone. They're disaffected in terms of democracy, and he is straight talking. They like them on other policies such as the economy and small business. They are Tories who are disaffected and just want anybody else from the right wing to vote for. But these kind of comments are outside of what these people would deem to be acceptable, and I think that they are showing that they have an electoral ceiling here. Plenty of racists will vote for them, sure, whatever, right? Again, it's just like, people. Not everybody who votes for them is racist, but all racists do vote for them. I think is the kind of terminology that we'd use for this. But I don't think I think that there is a proportion of them that won't care, but there is certainly an amount of their polling who certainly will see this and get very much turned off.
I mean, I think this would become a problem for them. I nearly said when, but I might be right. When they become a party of governance, because they have to then win over a whole slew of people rather than their base. But I think right now they're riding the wave of their messed up form of right-wing populism. I don't think it's going to harm them. Now, of course, you have referenced data, and data is all that matters to me. So, of course, I'm happy to sort of be corrected on that. But I'm not sure I agree with you when you say they're finding their electoral ceiling. I think we could have said that about UKIP or maybe the Brexit Party, or we could have said that about Reform when they were hitting 5 to 8%, and we could say, oh, maybe they can get about 10% of the electorate. I mean, they're polling in some instances higher than the Conservatives. So again, how do we trust polls? I don't know, but I don't think there's a ceiling at the moment. And in fact, you know, we've got the Conservative Party, you know, pushing culture wars. They're becoming more like Reform. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's a ceiling, but again, I'm happy to be wrong on that.
Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn Left.